Good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin Hodge. Tonight on your WZMQ 19 News, more details on the arrest made by the FBI in connection to a suspected terrorist plot in Lower Michigan. Plus, Republican lawmakers in Lansing are looking to slash regulations in the state by passing legislation that would cut 2 regulations for every 1 created. And our Washington, D.C. correspondent Brendan Scanlon breaks down the top headlines that came out of the nation's capital this week. Your 19 News at 11 starts now.
Live from the UP, this is WZMQ 19 News at 11.
Definitely was a little bit of a wet day today. We had a few rain showers that moved through earlier through the day and did pick up almost half an inch worth of rain at the Sawyer Airport today. But temperatures tonight dipping off into the mid to upper 30s across much of the UP. And even where temperatures get close to that freezing mark, wouldn't be shocked to see maybe a few wet snowflakes by tomorrow morning on the western half of the UP. But it will be chilly with temperatures into the 40s. Complete details on your forecast, plus a breezy week ahead in just a few minutes.
Dakota, thank you very much. FBI Director Kash Patel has announced the arrest of several people suspected of plotting a terrorist attack in Michigan. Jack Springate explains what we know so far.
Well, the FBI says they've arrested 5 people between the ages of 16 and 20 years old. They say the FBI was first tipped off about this after a member of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force noticed 2 of these suspects making plots on what they're calling an online ISIS chat room. They claim these plans involved a violent attack for Halloween weekend, as they also uncovered surveillance footage of these teens going to gun ranges and having automatic weapons. They claim the group also went to Ohio to case out Cedar Point, but at this time, there's no confirmation on exactly where they were planning to carry out this attack. Now, we were expecting to see some of these suspects arraigned in federal court earlier this afternoon, but none of them made it onto the docket. However, we are told they could appear for an arraignment this Sunday over Zoom at the earliest 1 o'clock. Even though law enforcement says there's no longer any concern for public safety in these 2 communities, Inkster police say they'll be upping their presence during trick-or-treating to put folks at ease. Still, a Dearborn resident who lives near the other raid location says this whole situation, especially with it happening on Halloween, just doesn't seem real.
I actually thought it was just like a Devil's Night prank. This is very new and scary to me. And at 62, you just want to be retired and relaxed and enjoy and not have to worry about something like helicopters and FBI and yeah, it's like you're in a movie all of a sudden.
The FBI says this group may have been inspired to make some plans of their own after a 19-year-old former National Guardsman was arrested back in May for planning an attack on a military base in Warren.
A new proposal in Lansing would require state agencies to cut 2 regulations for every new one they create. Supporters say it's about cutting red tape and boosting business, while opponents warn it could strip away important protections. Our Michigan Capitol correspondent Sophia Murphy has more from the bill's author.
It's being called a 2-for-1 approach to rulemaking, a plan from Republican Representative Pat Outman that would force Michigan agencies to repeal 2 existing rules for each new one they propose.
And this is an idea that I stole from the Trump administration his first time around. They put this rule in place.
Outman says the bill would make Michigan more business friendly by easing what he calls a growing regulatory burden.
We're hoping that this removes a lot of barriers in terms of folks coming into the state of Michigan to set up shop, to do business, to do construction projects and things like that.
But Democrats say the proposal goes too far. Representative Phil Skaggs of East Grand Rapids argues the state already has a process for reviewing regulations through the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules known as JCAR.
This bill is a ham-handed attempt which is going to eventually get us down to a regulation-free state, which would be the equivalent of Somaliland.
Skaggs says he's open to cutting red tape when necessary, but wants the legislature to use its existing oversight process instead of what he calls political theater.
We all want to get rid of unnecessary red tape, but we don't want to overdo it and, as I said, end up with dirty air and unclean water.
The House Fiscal Agency says the bill's financial impact on state agencies is still unclear. It passed in the State House and is waiting in the Senate for a committee hearing. Outman says the proposal is about streamlining government, while critics say it risks dismantling it. From Michigan's capital, Sophia Murphy, WZMQ 19 News.
A federal judge has ruled that SNAP benefits must continue despite the shutdown. The Trump administration argued they can't tap into emergency funds to keep the program up and running during this shutdown. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Rachel Knapp reports.
On Friday, 2 federal judges ruled the Trump administration needs to keep funding for food stamps, even during a government shutdown. One ruling adds the administration should use contingency funds to keep the program going. The rulings came a day before the U.S. Agriculture Department said they would not be able to distribute SNAP benefits due to the shutdown.
SNAP benefits run dry tomorrow.
SNAP is a federal food program that provides benefits to low-income families. The program helps about 42 million people. The Trump administration and congressional Republicans claim they cannot tap into contingency funds to keep the federal program up and running in a government shutdown.
If there was any way to fund SNAP during the Democrat shutdown, you can be assured that your commander-in-chief would do it.
According to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, a nonpartisan research and policy institute, they say the administration's claims they can't tap into contingency funds stands in opposition to the law and prior practice, including by the Trump administration itself. The organization points out during past shutdowns under Democratic and Republican administrations, SNAP benefits have always been provided using available funding sources, and that contingency funds could be used for SNAP benefits during a shutdown. Leading up to this decision, congressional Democrats argue the administration has the capacity to keep the program going.
And despite having billions of dollars in emergency funding ready and available to pay for SNAP, the Trump administration is refusing to use those resources.
It's unclear how the 2 judges' rulings will impact the program or how quickly beneficiaries' debit cards will be loaded after the ruling. The judges are asking the administration for updates by Monday. In Washington, Rachel Knapp, WZMQ 19 News.
From rising food insecurity at home to a record day of military strikes at sea, it's been a week of tense deadlines and global diplomacy in Washington. Our other D.C. correspondent, Brennan Scanlon, has the biggest headlines from this week in the nation's capital.
This week in Washington, the federal government shutdown drags on. Millions of Americans are feeling the impacts, which are about to get worse. More than 40 million people could lose SNAP and WIC benefits when federal funding runs out for the programs on November 1st.
The stakes are really, really high, and it's just a terrible position to put moms and families in.
Democrats say they're open to negotiations, but want extensions to Affordable Care Act tax credits included in any government funding deal.
The largest cut to Medicaid in American history, that's policy violence. Shutting down hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers, that's policy violence.
Republicans argue those talks belong in separate legislation after the government reopens.
You've got families and children that rely upon SNAP benefits that are going to go hungry here at the end of the week. The Democrats own every one of these consequences.
In the meantime, millions of Americans, even federal workers, are stuck in the crossfire.
All resources have been exhausted.
Roughly 700,000 federal workers call the capital region home. Many are turning to local food banks to keep their families fed.
These are the people you usually don't see in these lines, or they're usually helping out at events like this at local food banks. So to be on the other end of it is it's life-changing.
From food insecurity to targeted strikes on suspected narco-trafficking boats at sea.
We're finally waging war on the cartels. We're waging war like they'd never seen before.
The Trump administration is escalating its fight against the cartels, launching a record number of strikes in a single day, Monday, in the Eastern Pacific. But the White House under fire this week by Democrats who say only Republican lawmakers have been briefed on the strikes.
Every senator, Democrat, Republican, Independent, has a constitutional role to play when the United States uses military force.
And abroad, President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping met in South Korea Thursday, their first face-to-face in 6 years.
I thought it was an amazing meeting.
After months of trade tension, Trump agreed to lower tariffs on Chinese goods from 57% to 47%. In return, China pledged to crack down on fentanyl into the United States. On his flight back to the U.S., President Trump made headlines calling for the return of regular nuclear weapons testing.
I think it is an obvious and logical thing
to ensure that our weapon systems work as they're designed.
We don't have a need to test our nuclear weapons.
Saturday, November 1st is when many federal nutrition benefits and programs are set to run dry. From empty grocery carts to healthcare concerns, pressure is building here on Capitol Hill for lawmakers to strike a deal and reopen the government. We expect that pressure to intensify when lawmakers return next week. That's a look at This Week in Washington. I'm Brendan Scanlon. Back to you.
Dakota Hunter has your first warning weather forecast when we come back. Plus, thousands of flights were delayed across the U.S. today. We'll have the latest on the disruptions after this.
Now, from the 19 News Forecast Center, this is WZMQ 19 First Warning Weather.
Welcome back, everybody. Topped out 42 degrees. That was our high here into Marquette today. Again, like I said, we picked up close to a half inch. It was more around 4/10 of an inch, but still was a wet day. And of course, the trick-or-treaters had to deal with the wind earlier. But the wind's not over. We do have a gale watch in effect for Lake Superior. This goes into effect Sunday and lasts through Tuesday. The winds are going to start shifting from the north to the south as another system passes on by to our south. That's going to increase the waves and the winds next week. We do have a small craft advisory on Lake Superior for tomorrow, but that's mainly in the morning. North winds 10 to 15 knots. They will diminish to about 5 to 10 in the afternoon with wave heights 1 to 4 feet. In the morning, subsiding to about 1 to 2. Of course, UV index low, and water temperature off Marquette now sitting at 43 degrees. So let's take you through Futurecast and show you a few of those rain showers through, again, early tomorrow morning. You get out here in the western half of the UP. Again, that's where we could see a few wet snowflakes falling, so not out of the question where some of that colder air lives in the typical pockets. Yeah, may have a few wet snowflakes out there, but hey, you know, it's almost November. This is what you expect this time of the year. Now, sunshine will start to break out as we head into Sunday. We will see a few showers skirting on by Sunday evening, but then our attention turns to wind. It gets even breezier next week. I mean, if you thought today was breezy, hold on to your hats. We've got more wind to go through, and not talking about much in terms of rain here. I think about 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch through this weekend should do it. So I don't think think rain issues, flooding should not be an issue. But here's the wind story. So we have that northerly wind component. Again, that's been keeping us on the cooler side of things. Of course, a northerly wind brings in cooler air. But watch the time as we head towards Sunday and Monday, the wind starts shifting out of the south and you see the wind speeds increasing, 15 to 25 mile per hour sustained winds, with some gusts 25 to 35 miles per hour. So again, it will be breezy Monday, Tuesday, and even into Wednesday. It's still going to be kind of breezy through the first half of the week, but we'll start to bring the winds down later in the week though. Also, don't forget, before you head to bed tomorrow night, you want to make sure you flip the clocks back an hour. Of course, we gained that hour of sleep, which is oh so nice. And of course, our new sunrise time will be 7:33 and 5:32 as we go back to standard time. Lows tonight here, mid to upper 30s, lower 30s across that western half of the UP. That's where those wet snowflakes could be. Tomorrow, lower to mid 40s will do it for highs with a few scattered showers, mainly in the morning. And then temperatures actually up and down through much of this upcoming week with a few scattered showers and a little bit of sunshine.
Dakota, thank you again. Thousands of flights were delayed today, and the Transportation Secretary blamed a shortage of air traffic controllers caused by the government shutdown. The shutdown is about to enter a second month. Secretary Sean Duffy says the controller shortages and resulting delays and cancellations will get worse as the days go on. The only people who can reopen the government, members of Congress, are off radar this weekend. Nicole Valdez reports from the airport in Nashville.
Frustration is mounting at Nashville's International Airport today, where some passengers dealt with nearly 2-hour delays. Like Elizabeth Payne, who realized she was going nowhere fast after one flight and then another was delayed.
Just really a pain, and we'll probably stay here instead for the weekends.
The FAA blames a shortage of air traffic controllers as the shutdown reaches 31 days. Roughly 13,000 air traffic controllers missed their first full paycheck on Tuesday. In Boston, delays were over 2 hours. At New York's Kennedy Airport, nearly 3 hours. And at Newark International Airport, it was more than an hour.
The added stress, the added strife and angst of not having a paycheck. How are we going to pay our mortgage or our rent and put food on the table for our families? You know, these are things that is a whole added layer of additional stress to what they already deal with.
In Orlando last night, the FAA warned that the airport was close to turning away arriving flights altogether due to staffing issues. They found replacements, but delays lingered well into the night, with some travelers delayed over 4 hours.
It's not just affecting those employees, it's affecting us too, and it's a huge chain reaction.
And with more controllers calling out sick, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warned Thursday travel during the holidays could get even worse.
Our traffic will be snarled, right? It'll be a disaster in aviation.
Mike Ludlum has your sports highlights after the break. He'll break down where things stand as the high school football playoffs kick off. We're back in 2 minutes.
He got there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is everything good on your end? You can update the hockey scores page and the hoop scores page if you haven't done that. cool breezy. Good evening, everyone. The Marquette Sentinels made their second trip to Gaylord to face the Blue Devils in a Division III first-round football game. Marquette lost in overtime to Gaylord 29-28 in overtime back on September 13th. We will pick this up in quarter number 3. Marquette trails 16-13. Ford Richardson takes the snap, a fake, and over midfield he goes, and he's going to keep right on going. 61 yards for the touchdown. Extra point is good. Sentinels in front, 20-16. Jump to quarter number 4. Marquette stretches the lead. Ford Richardson hits Brody Clentz on a slant pattern. Good for 16 yards. Extra point good. 27-16 Marquette. Blue Devils respond. Handoff to Caven Cole up the middle. Good for 14 yards and a touchdown. Gaylord climbs back within 27-24. Marquette gets back to work. Richardson fakes another quarterback keeper, and he keeps sprinting away from all the Blue Devils. 58 yards for this touchdown. Extra point, yes. 34-24 Sentinels, 9:15 remaining. Blue Devils cut it to 34-31, then under 20 seconds to go. Mason Salisbury catches a wide receiver screen and scores. Ugh. Marquette had a pass intercepted on a final Hail Mary. Gaylord advances to the district final 38-34. Marquette ends the season 6-4. Elsewhere in the playoffs, in Division 5, in overtime, Ogama Heights sneaks past Negaunee 29-28. In Division 7, Menominee no trouble with Manton 48-17. Let us go to Division 8, where West Iron County was taking on Bark River Harris. Second half action here. Cody Roll gets the pitch, and he'll make a good gain down toward the 5-yard line. Matthew Graham is going to get the ball next, and he's going to score as he cuts right through the Wycons defense. West Iron County's season comes to an end. Bark River takes this one easily, 54-6. Also in Division 8, Lance at Iron Mountain. First quarter, first drive for Lance. Keegan Davidson finds Daniel Connor with a pass that's good for a first down, but the Purple Hornets could not sustain the drive. Second quarter, still 0-0. Iron Mountain quarterback Braden Casson has time to throw. He locates Charles Anderson. This is a 22-yard gain down to the Purple Hornets' 3-yard line. A short time later, the handoff will go to Quinton Doty, and he scoots in from 3 yards for the score. And the extra point was good. The Mountaineers have the first score of the game, leading 7-0. Lance is forced to punt. Daniel Connor with the kick. A pleasant bounce into the hands of the Mountaineers' Braden Casson. Couple of moves, comes toward the near sideline, and he just needs to make a move on Connor, and he does. 60 yards for the touchdown return. Mountaineers missed the extra point, led 13-0. Iron Mountain wins 31-15. The Mountaineers will travel to Bark River Harris for their third meeting of the season next weekend. The Broncos have won the first 2 encounters. Let us go to 8-player Division 1, Gogebic against Norway. Norway jumped out to an 8-0 lead and kept right on going. A strip sack for a touchdown, and that would give the Knights a 16-0 lead. And the next thing you go Gogebic quarterback Jaden Verrett is going to show that he can do a lot of things. This one is called running it in for a touchdown, and he took care of business on that one. And he's going to get some more moves here as he plows or just sprints into the end zone to get Gogebic going once again. But the Knights, they're still pretty good. Good reason they're number 1 in the UP in an 8-player. A touchdown pass here from Owen By to Josh Schlitz. And Norway would get another touchdown here on a throw from By. And there's the catch right there. Elliot Kramer, I believe, 60-32. Norway wins its first game. Now, let's go to the scoreboard and surprise! Indian River Inland Lakes had only allowed 2 teams to score this year. Well, Pickford made it 3, and the Panthers beat the Bulldogs 30-26, so Pickford will take on Norway in the second round. Let us go to college hockey. Michigan Tech visiting Clarkson this evening. First period, Carson Latimer and Elias Janssen would get the goal at 7:20 of the first, and the Huskies have a 1-0 lead. Almost 3 minutes later, the Huskies on a break. Janssen and Carson Latimer will set up Braden Bain on the rebound, and at 10:14, the Huskies had a 2-0 advantage. Let's jump to the second period. Huskies still up 2-1, and Taden Trembecki will get the first of his 2 goals on the evening just off the faceoff. 3-1 Huskies at 11:39, but in the third, here come the Golden Knights. Owen Van Steensel will score on the power play, and Michigan Tech falls in this one by the count of 6-4. Michigan Tech visits St. Lawrence tomorrow. On the college hockey scoreboard, NMU plays well. Augustana still wins 2-1. William Grandma made 46 saves for the Wildcats. Lake Superior and St. Lawrence played to a tie at 3. And in Big Ten hockey, Michigan State the weekend off. Michigan defeats Notre Dame by the count of 5-3. In other GLIAC action, in women's soccer, big day for NMU, defeating Roosevelt by the count of 5-1. And it was Parkside defeating Michigan Tech tonight 3-1. In GLIAC men's soccer, NMU picked up a couple of goals and beat Roosevelt 2-1. That should put the Wildcats in a position to host a GLIAC quarterfinal next week. In GLIAC volleyball, NMU gets 15 kills from Mackenzie Gruner to defeat Roosevelt 3-1. Rachel Zurich had 13 kills for Michigan Tech, but Parkside the winner in this one by the count of 3-0. And Lake Superior State fell to Purdue Northwest 3-0. Morgan Deming had 12 kills for LSSU. The Bay Community College basketball team started the season this evening, and the women, they didn't have to work too hard in this one, did they? 107-29 over the Commodores of Lorain County, Ohio, and the men also victorious, winning 95-75 over Hibbing. Also to mention worthwhile, don't forget in college football tomorrow, Michigan Tech will be hosting Roosevelt. Huskies should be in pretty good shape on this one after last week's victory, 56-17 over NMU. The Wildcats will be in Big Rapids, taking on top-ranked Ferris State. Quick thought about Sunday in football. The Lions take on Minnesota, hosting Minnesota. That game will start at 1 o'clock. And the Green Bay Packers also have a 1 o'clock game against the Carolina Panthers. On paper, those games look rather easy, don't they? But of course, you never know how things will go. We'll be back in a moment.
Lows tonight, mid to upper 30s across much of the UP. Again, you get out here towards Iron River, Ironwood. Again, lower 30s. That's where you could see a few of those wet flakes fly in by tomorrow morning. So don't be shocked if you see those. Still a little bit chilly tomorrow. Lower to mid 40s will do it for highs, maybe upper 30s when you work out towards Ironwood, but still going to be chilly. But like I said, the wind is going to be our main issue as we head into next week, especially. And you see those rain chances really dipping off here as we head through the weekend. So this weekend's going to be pretty decent, at least in the sky sort of thing. I don't think we're talking about a lot of rain, and that's kind of reflected here. Just a few early showers tomorrow, then around 50 for Sunday. A little bit more sunshine as we, of course, gain that hour of sleep. Now Monday, that's when it gets breezy. We could be talking wind gusts 15 to 25, or at least sustained winds 15 to 25, gusts close to 30 as we bring in a few showers through much of next week.
Dakota, thank you again. And Mike, happy Friday. Take it away.
Happy Friday. Game 6 of the World Series. Let's go right to it between the Toronto Blue Jays hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers. Marquette's Adam Hamry is the umpire behind home plate tonight. We'll pick this up top of the third. Will Smith cranks one toward the left field corner. That lands safely. Tommy Edman will score. Shohei Ohtani will reach third base, and the Dodgers have a 1-0 lead. A short time later, Mookie Betts, who has struggled at the plate in the series, gets a base hit to left field. Ohtani scores. So does Smith. The Dodgers are up by 3. Bottom of the third, George Springer back in the lineup for Toronto after an injury. He's going to get the base knocked to center field. Addison Barger crosses the plate. Blue Jays on the board, down 3-1. Dodgers hang on to win by the score of 3-1, so we're tied at 3, and Game 7 is Saturday.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you all for watching. Have a great weekend.